In today's video, I'm going to cover how to master your movement on Warlock. Movement is the #1 differentiator between the top 1% of players and your average blueberry, and often when people switch to Warlock, they struggle with the floatiness of the jump and figuring out how to Warlock skate effectively around the map. So I'm going to take my over 1,000 hours of experience on Warlock to show you how to master and control your movement on Warlock and become one of the fastest players in the Crucible. So if you're someone who has struggled with your movement on Warlock or find yourself wondering why every other Warlock seems to be flying at crazy speeds, then this video is for you. I also recommend hanging around for all the sections since mastering movement on Warlock is going to require proficiency in all the areas we will discuss, but I'll also have the video broken into sections if you want to skip around. And if at any point you find this video helpful, consider dropping a like as it really helps me out. With that, let's get into it. Before getting into how to Warlock skate, we need to make sure we have a solid foundation when it comes to our jump of choice. Because if you have the wrong jump selected, you could have mastered the art of skating mechanically, but your jump will be holding you back. The jump of choice for Warlock in PvP is going to be Burst Glide. Burst Glide allows you to move in a more linear way across the map and helps us build momentum when it comes to Warlock skating. Because this jump is less floaty than the others, it's also great for keeping us from floating too high in the air and being easily picked off by the enemy team. Diving into the actual mechanics of Warlock skating, and it's all about timing your jumps in relation to how close your character is to the ground, and you always want to have a sprinting start to help with your momentum, and I'm going to show you this with an on-screen keyboard so you can see the keys I'm pressing as I'm explaining it. So you'll start sprinting, jump into the air with whatever that keybind or button is. In my case, it's spacebar. Once you hit that initial jump, as you're descending, you're going to double press your jump key. The reason we double press our jump key is to quickly activate our burst glide and the momentum it gives with the first press. Then with the second press, we are quickly deactivating it so you don't get that part of the jump that makes your character float. Essentially, this allows you to get only the benefits of the burst part of the jumping. This makes it very easy to know when you mess up, since if you mistime your jump, then you'll either lose all momentum or when you jump again, you'll end up floating up into the air. Stringing the initial jump together with the second double jump is the key to building momentum. I recommend going to a private match alone and just practice getting a rhythm for Warlock skating around the map. Another aspect of Warlock skating that some PC players use is a secondary keybind for your jump on surfaces that slant upwards. This allows you to quickly double jump and give you a large burst of momentum when going up some stairs or a small hill. Once you master this technique and the cadence of Warlock skating, you'll find that Warlock skating will soon become as natural as sprinting around the map. Word of caution around Warlock skating: be careful of when you're Warlock skating. You want to use it to primarily get to a strong point on the map, then settle in before you engage your enemy. Because while Warlocks can be very fast while skating, if you get caught mid-skate and try to cancel it, it can be very easy to land those first initial shots on you. As with most things, you're going to want to balance your Warlock skating with other basic movement principles to give you the most well-rounded game. I also have a community Discord where you can ask questions about things like Warlock movement, show off your favorite weapons, builds, and even Destiny fashion, so consider joining using the link below to link up with other Destiny players. Another part of improving your movement on Warlock is by how you use your slide in Destiny 2. Sliding is one of the most underrated movement abilities in the game and can be used in so many ways to impact an engagement. The good habit you want to build is to slide all the time, meaning if you're not Warlock skating, you should be sliding. This keeps our movement unpredictable and keeps us from making the mistake of simply sprinting in a straight, predictable line like some of our blueberry friends. By constantly sliding as you move around the map, this makes you harder to track for that easy headshot and gets you into cover faster. Another aspect of sliding you want to pay attention to is your slide distance. As you're sliding around the map, you want to pay attention to how far you slide. Learning your slide distance is critical for a couple of reasons. The first reason is so you accurately predict how close you need to be before you slide in to close the gap on your opponent. There's no worse feeling than going in to slide shotgun your opponent and you underestimate your slide distance, causing you to short stop in front of your opponent just out of shotgun range. Secondly, learning your slide distance will help you keep from sliding too far out from cover, or in some cases even past cover, leaving yourself out in the open as an easy target. You want to think of sliding and your cover as something you want to use together. Ideally, you want to be barely peeking out of cover when your slide ends. This will allow you to show enough of yourself to engage the opponent, but close enough to cover that if you start losing the engagement, you can easily slide back into cover without having too much ground to cover. In all of your engagements, you always want to be near cover, ready to dip out the second the odds are no longer in your favor. Another way you can use sliding is in a more defensive manner. When playing near cover, you can utilize this cover to slide away from your opponent, then quickly turn around to start primarying them. This technique is especially good against more aggressive opponents, since it can trick them into thinking you are much closer than you are and take them out of range of their shotgun. This technique is something I use frequently since I find it gives me more control of the engagement compared to sliding with my shotgun for potential trade. Sliding may seem like a simple movement in Destiny 2, but when you intentionally practice the techniques we've covered and then combine that with Warlock skating, you are now taking your movement from good to great. If you've been finding this video helpful so far, consider subscribing as it's a totally free and easy way to support the channel and make sure you don't miss any future PvP videos. The main movement ability that draws people to Warlock over and over again is Icarus Dash. This Warlock movement is easily the most powerful movement ability in Destiny 2 because of how fast it allows you to move and how unpredictable it can make you. And while it is quite the powerful ability, not everyone can use it effectively as it requires precise timing and situational awareness to get the most out of it. Starting with how to Icarus Dash, it's going to be similar to Warlock Skating with the addition of adding our air dash key to our cadence. So you'll get your sprinting start, then you're going to press your jump key, then air dash key a split second later to combine the burst of your jump with the push of your Icarus Dash. The cool thing is you can string two Icarus Dashes together to send you flying further and faster. You'll simply repeat the step I just mentioned by running, jump, and then immediately press your air dash key. Give it a slight pause, and here I usually wait till I see my character's feet start to come back down out of the dash. Then I'll jump and air dash again to string together my two Icarus Dashes. What you'll find is if you jump / air dash too close to your first dash, then you will lose all momentum and not go very far. This movement is all about building that muscle memory along with having a keybind that allows you to move in any direction. For me, I use scroll wheel up, which allows me to aim in any direction for my Icarus Dash. This brings me to my next piece of advice, and that's to use this ability defensively. This ability really shines when you use it as a way to get out of bad situations and reposition yourself to have the advantage in the engagement. Earlier, I talked about the importance of cover and always staying near it. As hard as you may try to stay near cover, at some point you will be caught out of position. With Icarus Dash, you have an ability that basically puts a band-aid on your bad positioning and lets you do a quick 180 and be across the map in a second. Dawnblade mains who use the dash this way are very frustrating to play against because even if you manage to catch them out of position, it doesn't matter. This ability is also great for baiting your enemies in a similar way that we talked about with sliding. When near cover, you bait your enemies in closer using your radar. Then, as they push in, you can Icarus Dash backwards, creating space between you and your opponent and taking them out of the range of their shotgun, leaving them helpless. Icarus Dash can be incredibly potent when used primarily as a defensive option. That doesn't mean you can't use it offensively, but what I found is most often when players use it this way, they end up just throwing themselves face first into a shotgun or a double team. Focus on using this ability to live to fight another day, and you'll be frustrating your opponents in no time. Another aspect of our movement that's going to take you to the next level is going to be your strafe. When playing a random Crucible match, you can easily identify a player's skill level by how they strafe when they're in a gunfight. The key to an effective strafe is, you guessed it, making a player miss. How you do that is by being unpredictable in your movement, and you can do this in a couple of ways. First, you can vary the lengths of your strafe, meaning as you strafe left to right, you can vary how far you strafe to each side. As an example, you can start your strafe off with a tight left to right movement, then switch it up to strafe a little further to the left. Now, while this method can be effective, it's personally not my favorite, as an experienced player with good aim will be able to track your movement if you don't sprinkle in this technique sparingly. The next technique, and my personal favorite, is sprinkling in a crouch as you strafe back and forth. This is a great way to throw off your opponent's aim, especially if you can time it with the pace of their shots, making them miss that last headshot and giving you enough time to land yours. I've been able to turn around so many gunfights that I should have lost with this technique. As you practice it more and more, you'll develop a rhythm to your strafe and have a natural feel for when to throw in a crouch. For those of you that are still developing that rhythm, I recommend going into rumble matches and focus on using a crouch towards the end of your strafe. As this becomes more natural, you'll be free to experiment more with where in your strafe you crouch. And notice I said a crouch, not multiple crouches. If you crouch too often, it will actually slow down your strafe speed and make you an easier target. Which brings me to mobility and your strafe speed. Running a higher mobility will give you a faster strafe speed, which can make you a little bit harder to hit. It's also great for peeking in and out of cover without feeling like you're in quicksand. I typically would aim for around 4 mobility, but if you're running transversive steps, you'll probably be able to run less. When it comes to strafing, it's all about keeping your opponent's aim off balance and making yourself hard to predict, and is a huge piece of having top tier movement. As I stated earlier, movement is the true separator between good and great players, and you owe it to yourself to invest in some of the techniques I've mentioned here today. Some may seem small, but when given a little time can make a dramatic difference in how effective you are in the Warlock class. If you're looking for more ways to improve your Warlock play, try checking out the video at the top of the screen that will show you how to master your rifts, or the video on the bottom of the screen if you're looking for the best build for Warlock in 2021.